What if we could learn from outstanding leaders in business, sports, and education from some of the best voices in corporate America? Lighting the Path is a series of interviews with industry leaders whose stories highlight strategies that build purpose-driven cultures, engage and retain top talent, develop drivers that create high-performance teams, and connect people to the vision of your company. Join us to hear from game-changing, talented leaders whose paths make a difference at work and at home.
It's a championship mindset. I talk to people all the time, and that Tiger Woods said it. I'm a big golf fan. I'm a big sports fan. But Tiger Woods says, the more I practice, the luckier I get.
You betcha. Yeah.
And when we're crafting these messages, it's I call it random access memory. It's a computer. We have a hard drive with stuff that we can pull up when we need to. Yes, we work extremely hard. As athletes, you see pre-shot routines, you see pre-free throw routines, you see baseball do the same thing. It's creating muscle memory. So how do we, as speakers, create muscle memory so that when we step on stage, we're not thinking, although we are thinking, but it's a natural flow that allows us to be our true, authentic selves. I'm not, as much as I study speakers, and I like styles and I like tones and temperaments, there's still only one me. There's only one you. I pick bits and pieces from all kinds of people. I learn stuff from. I'm learning stuff now with you, and how do you take notes during the podcast, and write stuff down, then go back to it without it being a distraction. Those types of things we pick up on, so that when it's my turn, I can also do the same thing.
Yeah, I haven't had anybody that I've heard talk about mental, and I'm editing a little bit of what you said, but you describe mental muscle memory.
Yes.
I played basketball, not at your level, but I wish. I didn't have ups, but it's when I was a terrible free throw shooter as a freshman, and then my coach pulled me aside and said, "Man, you got to work on this." And so I did. And I went from being a terrible free throw shooter as a freshman, but by the time I was my sophomore, beginning of my junior year, I'm shooting 88% from the free throw.
Wow.
But it's because I had bounced the ball 3 times, take the elbow, cock it in, get the wrist up, make sure you do this, and I called it the goose, make sure you got the finger coming down. And but I shot so many, I didn't think about that. I didn't, then to this day, I can go out to a basketball court. It'll take me a little bit of while. I got to get my mindset going in to get the most, but when I first get there, I'm thinking about this.
Right.
From a speaking standpoint, I love this thing about getting prepared and going through and looking at your material and getting things organized to a point that when you get up there, there's a flow that's going to come out.
Yes.
Now, let me throw something out to see, and I'm going to tell you mine. I want you to tell me yours if it's similar or something that's different.
Okay.
So when I'm trying to frame a talk or a presentation, whether it's a sales presentation or a keynote, anything in between there, is that I will get out a piece of paper or get on my computer, and I'm going to type out one sentence that is the purpose of the message that I want to deliver. And then I draw a circle around it. And then everything has to be connected to that. And I'll mind map. All right. Yeah. What type of process do you use when you're going and preparing a presentation that somebody else might gain from?
Mine is similar. It's the general theme of the message, of course. And then I think about I try to keep it 3. There are a couple that have 4, but what are my 3 main points that tie back to that message, that are simple, that are simplistic, that I can show in slides, that I can tell stories around? Those 3. And then what supporting information can I put with those 3? So I go more outline, old school outline, Roman numeral 1, ABC, Roman numeral 2, ABC, Roman numeral 3, ABC. And so that's mine. And I write it on like scratch piece of paper. I get inspiration at very odd hours. It could be 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. So I used to keep a notebook by the bed. Now I don't want to turn the light on to disturb the wife or anybody. So I'll take my phone out and just start as thoughts or inspiration, as things come, I'll start writing them down in the phone to get them out of my head. From there, in the morning, I'll get up and I'll go back to the outline. Okay, let's move this around. How would this make sense? You talk about the exchange on the relay. Although everybody on the relay is fast, everybody has a different role and responsibility. And so how do you make it where it makes sense, where it's optimal? And so that's all I'm trying to think about. How does this make sense? How does this flow where the audience can follow me along this journey? And we start where we finish. That's
you said something in the middle of it, James. I want to make sure we don't lose. It's really important. And that's the use of stories. Pastor of the church I go to.
Okay.
Amazing from the pulpit. Amazing.
Yes.
So I've gained so much from him. One day, I pulled him aside and I said, "Okay, you got to teach me. I watch what you do and how you make scripture just come alive."
Right.
What trains you have? None. So what? He said, "Well, I was taught one thing that I remember that I've used. So you make a point for the head and a story for the heart."
Wow.
And I looked at that, and and it's so wild is that Glenna Salisbury, who is one of the biggest names in National Speakers Association. I spent a weekend with her as a coach, and she talked about SPA, story, point, application. That's an opening, right? And then she said, when you get in the body, it's point, story, application. And my takeaway from that is that story that's going to come out, man, that's where the stickiness comes from, doesn't it? That's where I get a chance to see the message. So what have you learned about the use of stories, and how do you choose and which story you want to deliver, and what have you learned on that journey?
Since you brought it up, I love, as much as I love watching preachers deliver the word, I love their ability to be able to communicate. We look at, and I don't want to go down a whole hole, but Jesus talked in stories, and they called parables, and it's what people remember.
Yeah, it worked pretty well for him too, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it gives people, number one, something that they can possibly relate to in a humanistic way. Stories are also authentic to the storyteller. So you and I both played basketball. I played in high school before I ran track, and we can tell basketball stories, but my story would still be different from you because my experience is different from yours. People, now the media is making me sick with who's the greatest and who's the best, and everybody who's winning is the best. Then everybody can be good. Everybody has a story to tell based on their experience. I'm working with a colleague now. She just retired, and we were college teammates in track. We both ran track. She was like, "Tell me some stories to tell." I said, "I can't tell you. I can tell you some stories you can tell because I know you, and this is where it starts. You can't tell the stories I tell. You weren't in my shoes." But storytelling gives one of, and I can't even think of her name now. I met at NSA. She said, "James, we have to show a little leg. We have to," she said, you button up, but our personalities, we love stories. We love sitting around the fireplace. We love sitting around roasting marshmallows, but for the stories, to create experiences. It allows them into our lives, which gives us credibility, gives us authoritativeness, but it also presents us as human. We could be on stage in front of a group, and if we say something that triggers, you talked about the word trigger, that triggers something in somebody else, then we've been successful. And how do they apply that to their life? What can they take away?
I love that.
That's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, the trigger you're talking about is that I have to watch myself if I'm trying to say something that might be humorous, is that I can't be Jerry Seinfeld. I can't be Jay Leno. And the reason why is because these guys are world class, and that's not me. I'm not a stand-up. Right. But so
but before you leave that though, is they also can't be you.
Totally. And
because we can all be successful. That championship mindset is about being the best version of yourself.
You betcha. Because you remind me, I gave a talk to a group of accountants, and I came home that night, and my wife asked, like she always did, "How did it go?" And I said, it went, probably the best talk I've ever given. And what I love about my wife is that she didn't go, "Well, that's great. I'm so proud of you." She says, "Tell me why."
Yeah.
Right. And so I said, and I still remember the words, right? Because Mike showed up.
Wow.
And I've always remembered that. And so now when I come home, she goes, "Did Mike show up tonight?" And so it's like, because that was just me. I'm not a controller. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a CPA. It's
Yep.
an audience that I served in the executive search work that I did.
Yep.
But you're right, it's like if James Brown, while you have a name that is James Brown, Jim Brown, a lot of people own that name, right?
Yeah.
But they don't own your message. And what I wrote down is the stories that you share, are, yes, they can be to entertain, but I think more important, the stories that really resonate is a learning experience that you had.
Right.
And if you're vulnerable enough to stand up and share whenever you weren't successful and what you learned from that,
Right.
my gosh, that has impact, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So when you think about that, is there an adversity that you had to overcome in your life that was a big learning lesson for you?
There are so many. It could be from when I first started speaking, how bad my slides were, and I didn't know how bad they were until somebody from NSA said, "Let me redo your slides for you."
Let me help
But
you out. Let me help you out.
right, unbeknownst to her, now she started a whole business in redoing slides, and I'm so excited about her movement. But one of the ones that I really worked, my very first track meet I ran in college. Now, I didn't start running track until I was a junior in high school. My very first track meet, we're in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, on a 200-meter bank track, and it's wood. And so you hear all this, there are 5 lanes, and I'm running the first leg of the relay. And so the first lap is everybody stays in their lane. After you cross the start line, everybody breaks. It's called a break, where you all come together. And man, I'm running, take your mark. It said, boom, gun goes off, and I'm running. You hear all the clackety, 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 clack. And we break after the first lap. And next thing I know, I'm looking at the lights. Yes, I got nudged a little bit. Now, at that time, I was like 6 foot, a whole 145 pounds of just
bulked up, baby, bulked
grown
up.
man. I was rocked up, and I had a decision to make at that moment. Do you stay here or do you get up and finish the race? And as quick as the decision was, there was a lot that went into it. We've been practicing since September. This is my first meet. I have teammates who, it takes us an hour to warm up to run just that one race. So they're all warmed up. I had coaches and trainers and the transportation people and nutritionists and family, and so I had to get up and finish. And so I've taken that same approach with everything. Falling down is not fatal. Failure is not fatal. You fall down, you get up. What does success look like? What is the win? What is the reward? I will never, ever forget that race. And the lesson, I never got pushed down again.
Yep. And I love that.
And so we apply that to, we can always talk about the sales we missed. As speakers, we're very critical about our presentation. I didn't say that. And I have to shift my mind to, yes, but what did you say? What was the response? What did the review say? What did the audience say? Quit being so judgmental. I've messed up meals. I've messed up emails. I've messed up phone calls. I've messed up conversations, but I'm still here. And I have a friend who has a company that said, not dead, can't quit. I have breath in life and I can just keep going.
I love what you're talking about. It's a great way to wrap up our time together, which has gone by just like this.
Is it over already? I still have 2 more hours worth of stuff to say.
No, I know, but I wanted to end that way. And again, for those of you listening, I didn't tell James I was going to do that. I wanted you to see an example of somebody sharing a story, which he did, right? And it was an interesting story. It was entertaining. I can picture him on the back. I can picture him looking for the lights. But the magic of what you just saw him do was he told the story, right? And then he comes in and he puts the point in here. And the point is, falling down is not failure. That's the point. And then he takes it to the next level from an application standpoint about the fact of when this happens and this happens and this happens. That's the learning. So what you saw was somebody just really giving you an awesome description. And the reason he was capable of doing that without me teeing him up to do it is because he's done this over and over and over and over again. Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours is that when you do it that often, you move to a different level. And James, I want to thank you so much for the time and just the heart that you've shared today with your message. I think it's an important one. for people who are willing to step into that zone that's of discomfort, which is sharing your thoughts, your experiences with others, so that they may get value out of it. And it's not as a keynote person. I'm talking about being brave enough to speak up in a meeting.
Yes.
I'm doing some coaching with some people that want to grow in the leadership role and say, look, you got a great message. You need to just have confidence that what you have to say is of value, because when you speak, it makes somebody else think. And you may be saying something that they're thinking, but they're not willing to say.
Right.
You may be saying something that what's going to happen is going to cause them to think of something differently that's totally separate from what the topic is.
That is correct.
That's why your message to speak and to grow your capability in sharing the thoughts and stuff you have inside of you is so important. And so if you're looking for someone to help coach you in this area that is safe and challenging, I highly recommend you reach out to James. There'll be some contact information. What's the best way for them to reach you, James? Your website, email address, what?
Yes, all the above. So I'm dating myself, so I still answer my phone. So I will give my phone number out. It's 713-504-4590. You can visit my website, the X, just the letter X, THEX Change Zone, THEXCHANGEZONE.com, or email me, James@JamesBrownJR360.com. Just feel free to reach out. I would love to spend some time with you, Mike. But thank you so much for allowing me to be on this Lighting the Path podcast. This conversation, which is what it felt like it was, has just been absolutely outstanding. I've learned some things just being part of this. And so to you and your listening and viewing audience, congratulations for the time that you spend with Mike, and keep supporting him. Go have a championship mindset.
Thanks, James. I appreciate that. And I got to go figure out what 3 things I'm going to do today, because he got me thinking about that. So have a good day.
All right.
Challenged you, or if you want to spend time digging into this subject a little deeper, or if you disagree with me, reach out. My contact information is on our website, lightingthepath.net, or email me at mike@mikelejeune.com. Also, look for me on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect our networks. Keep lighting the path for those who choose to follow you. It's more than a responsibility. It's an honor.